Now today I'm going to take you through more classic bass lines by some of the finest bass players around. I'm sure my own individual playing style has been influenced over the years by listening to great records featuring fantastic bass players and allowing their styles and techniques to permeate into my own playing. And I think this can really help you too. Now remember, if you'd like a copy of the transcription booklet and the backing tracks to these tunes that you're hearing today, then click on that link below and I'll send them directly to your inbox. So that first track you just heard was On the Serious Side by Tower of Power from their album In the Slot from 1975, featuring the awesome Rocco Prestia on bass. Now Rocco Prestia was known for his 16th note funk. It was in most of the lines he played and he really had that down. You often hear things like you'd hear things like chromatic lines where it's one note next to another, so you know, that kind of thing. But for this particular song, I picked this one for our booklet because it's got a really funky kind of octave pattern going on. And what's interesting about it is that he displaces the octave pattern by a 16th note. Now what I mean by that is we often play a note and then the octave after it. And in this case it's 16th notes. But we often do that starting on a strong beat. So you might hear something like this. You might hear... And you can kind of hear that I'm landing on that strong beat for the first note. Now for this particular one, for On the Serious Side, I just love the fact that what he's done is he's kind of displaced that 16th note pattern by moving the whole pattern a 16th note earlier. So it actually starts on the last 16th note of the bar. So what I mean by that is we're going to go 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. And from there on, he plays the octaves and he's kind of moving in a place where it sort of happens slightly earlier than you'd expect. So we'd have this, we'd have 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. That kind of thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's really cool, a really cool line. And I'd sort of recommend that you start that very slow. I mean, we always say this with the learning, but for this particular song, I can't say it enough. Really start this one very slow. And you'll find actually with the tracks that you can download from this pack I've got available, there's a slower version to help you start with. So we'd have something like this. Let's do it one more time. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and... And I really love that in the B section, he joins in with the brass pattern and he plays this really cool little line. So it's kind of like 2, 3, 4, 1. That kind of thing. So this is a song actually I sort of looked on some of the forums around, and I noticed there's a few people asking questions about, you know, where the line starts on the beat. It can sound a bit, sometimes it can throw you a little bit in terms of the syncopation and where things land. So once you get the transcription, have a little listen to it slower and work through it slowly, it all starts to make sense. So a very cool line by Tower of Power there to kick us off. Now the next track I've included in the booklet is Georgy Porgy by Toto from their self-titled album from 1978. Featuring David Hungate on bass. Now this is one of my all-time favourite bass lines. It's just so groovy and cool. And there's a few different ways to look at this bass line. So firstly, we've got to look at the groove itself, and we've got to make sure we really, you know, lock in with the drums, and also make sure that we land in the right place in the bar. And what I mean by that is the actual line itself goes kind of like this to start with. It goes. So the first two bars of it, we're kind of landing in the same place. We're going 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, you know, that sort of thing. 2 E and a 3. But what's interesting is the second half of this phrase, the second part of it comes forward a little bit. So we have this, we have 1 E and a 2 E and a, and we sort of stop just before beat 3. So it's sort of come forward. There's a sort of theme going on here. So we're going to go 1 and 3. And then 1, 3, and then secondly, so it's come earlier. Let's do that again. 4 and 3, and then 1, 3, 4. So that's a really important part of it, because you've got Jeff Porcaro on the drums, one of the all-time best drummers of all time. So one of my absolute favourite drummers actually. So we've got to try and lock in with what he's doing on the kit and just get our bass line to lock in with his kick drum. So that's the first angle we've got to come from. But the other thing that's interesting about this actual track is that I think it's a really good opportunity to have a little deeper look at the harmony. Now, what I mean by that is sometimes, you know, we might, as bass players, just use fairly simple vocabulary. We might use roots, fifths and octaves, and that's fine, but sometimes by just looking a little deeper into what the chords are kind of above us with the guitarist and the keyboard player and all that kind of thing, it really helps us understand what we're underpinning, and maybe you know, it influences our note choices as well. So what I mean by that is we could kind of think of you know, fills or embellishments as just, like I say, roots and fifths and octaves. You might go you know, that sort of thing. That sort of thing. And that's absolutely fine. But what's quite cool is sometimes if we look at what the chords were played, and sometimes even learn them on the bass as like little 3-note chords, we get more of an idea of what the harmony's doing, and it kind of opens our ear a bit. So for example, for this song, it starts with a C major 7, so that kind of sound, you know. Then it goes to a kind of a D6. So what we think of that is still a major chord, but with the 6th being kind of emphasised a bit. And what's interesting about that is the 7th from the first chord becomes the 6th of the next one. So you can kind of hear this relationship between them. And then we kind of go to an E minor 9 to an E minor 7. So you can kind of hear some interesting kind of colour tones going on here. So we'd have like, you know, and then repeat that. So it does that a couple of times. Then it kind of moves on to C major 7. Then it goes down to an A minor 9. And again, if we look at that, the 7th of the C major 7 has become the 9th of the A minor 9. So you can kind of hear these interesting notes popping out. And then we go to like a B sharp 5 dominant 7 to a B7. So, you know, this sort of thing. Let's do that again. So we've got. And then. And that's kind of like the verse stuff. And then we move to the chorus and we've got E minor 7. And then we've got an E minor 7 with a C sharp in the bass. Then we have like an F sharp, and I think it's a 7 with a 9 in it, flat 9. And then a B7 with a sharp 5 again. And I might finish that with a B7. So what's interesting about this kind of thing is that we can kind of, like I say, hear the harmony going on, and it might kind of influence how we embellish the bass line down low. So for example, I might think of some of those notes that I learned, and I would put them into my bass line. So if I just wanted to embellish, now I'm going to play something that's a bit busier than I actually would play for the song. But just as an example, we might do something like that sort of thing, and then down to the A minor. So that kind of thing. So that's probably more, I wouldn't feel like that the whole time, but you get the idea by looking at the harmony of these sort of songs. It gives you ideas for where we can embellish and what we can do in terms of note choices. So it's a great song as a kind of study piece for that kind of stuff. So a song that just really serves so many purposes for me. You know, you can work on your groove and your time, and you can also use it as a kind of ear training exercise. So a fantastic song and one of my absolute favourites. Okay, moving on. Now the next track we're looking at is It's the Engine in Me by Larry Graham and Graham Central Station, taken from their album My Radio Sure Sounds Good to Me from 1978, featuring the mighty Larry Graham on bass.
Every time I get a chance.
What a cool track. Now, Larry Graham is known to be one of the true originators of slap bass, and I think we should all study his playing if we want to get into that style of playing. Now, I chose this particular song because I think it's a really good example of showing his basic thumping and plucking technique with octaves. Now, what he does so well is he plays octave patterns like we all do, but he adds bags of feel by adding really cool dead notes in between. So let's have a quick look at what we could do there. So if we're looking at maybe an F note here, and we're going to thump that low note, and then we're going to pop the high F. And what we often do is come back down and hit a dead note with the thumb. So I've let these fingers just rest across the strings, and then I'm just going to play a dead note in between. So we're going to go, so it's. But what he would also do is he would do things like double thumps at the bottom. So he might go, you might do that, so it might go. He'd add some hammer-ons in every so often. And all kinds of, versions of the two. So he would sort of mix and match all the time. He'd often slide into octaves as well to give his sort of distinctive sound. So for this particular one, we've got this, we're going between an F and a G. So we're going to go. So yeah, that's a really good tip as well for sort of sounding a bit more like Larry Graham. If you're going to play something like, try sliding into them. So that kind of thing. Fantastic line to check out. And the other thing that I really liked about this is the fact there's a bit of fuzz in there as well. So if you check out that middle section and you've got a fuzz pedal, you can stamp on that and really sound kind of like that authentic Graham Central Station sound. Now next up, we're looking at New Love by Jeffrey Osborne from his self-titled album from 1982. Now on bass we've got Louis Johnson, who you'll know from all those Michael Jackson albums like Off the Wall and Thriller, as well as the Brothers Johnson albums too. Louis is famed for his incredible slap technique, which is where he got the name Thunder Thumbs from. But I chose this record to highlight that he was an incredible fingerstyle player too. Now listen out for all those ghost notes in this excerpt, which inject bags of feel. What a cool track, and such an amazing voice on Jeffrey Osborne there. Now what I love about this particular track is that it's got a sort of heavily swung 16ths feel. Now what I mean by that is, rather than sort of mathematically dividing up the bar in a very sort of equal way, so 1 E and a, 2 E and a, in that kind of feel, we're actually, for each pair, we're actually adding a bit of weight to the first one and less to the second one. We're lengthening the first of each pair and shortening the second one. So you end up with 1 E and a, 2 E and a, that kind of thing. And what I think that Lewis Johnson does so well in this track is he doesn't just play a kind of straightforward octave pattern and follow the chords. He adds loads of ghost notes in, and he just adds that extra feel that it needs. So rather than the drummer needing to add all the feel, the drummer can play quite straight, and he's adding in all those extra notes to give it the shuffly feel, to give it that kind of feel that we need for a song like this. So for example, he could kind of play something like that kind of thing. What he's actually doing is he's adding lots of extra little, like I say, these ghost notes and passing notes. So he's kind of going that kind of thing. So it's a fantastic song to, like I say, to get studying and look into the sort of the details of those 16th notes. Really fun track and just so great to work on a swing feel. Okay, moving on. Now the next track is Just Another Story by Jamiroquai from their album The Return of the Space Cowboy from 1994 with the supremely funky Stuart Zender on bass. Now you could consider this a bit of a study piece for funk bass. It goes on for almost 9 minutes and there are several sections at different tempos. Now ideally you're going to need an envelope filter too. Okay, so there's a few cool things to think about with this particular song. There's a few phrases that we just have to learn. It's in kind of G minor, so if we think of where G minor is, we've got... So if you kind of think about where everything is on the board, there's a lot of lines that maybe use a bit of pentatonic vocabulary there, sometimes just notes from the scale. So we start off with like... So if you think about what that is, it's kind of the first 3 notes of a minor scale. And then it kind of goes down to, which is kind of the 4th and the 3rd down to the root. So you kind of got to let that envelope do its thing, you know. Interestingly, as it goes into the first groove, there's a few notes that are like particularly high, and I kind of noticed that I think he was using harmonics there. So we kind of go like, we kind of pick out a few notes there with the harmonics. We're going to hit the 5th fret of the top 2 strings. So and then well, this kind of thing. So it's a really cool song to work on. Now it goes round around that for quite a while, but then it moves into a whole new section. Now this new section kind of uses more like blues scale vocabulary. So think minor blues scale for this, and it essentially kind of goes round from D up to F. So if you think about what a minor blues scale is, we'd put our first finger on the root note, we'd go 1 to 4, up to 1, 2, 3, up to 1 and 3. So those 1, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3. And the line is kind of like... It goes round and round in that key for a little while, then we move to G minor. After that we've got a bit of a cool breakdown, so we're kind of going 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, that kind of thing. So it goes round and round doing that for a little while. And then we kind of move back into that same sort of set of chords starting on the G minor, but he adds a lot more syncopation and ghost notes. So it's a very cool line. We've got things like... So that kind of thing with, you know, those signature Stuart Zender riffs and licks that we all heard before and love. So it's a fantastic song to kind of work through. And like I say, it's a bit of a beast. It's a 9-minute song. So I would take it in sections, work on it very slow, you know, get the notes under the hand. I've always put the tab on those transcriptions as well if you want to just check where you're going to play it on the neck. But a fantastic song to sort of get your hands around and play along to. One of my favourites. Okay, so moving on. The next track I've selected is the classic Sweet Love by Anita Baker from her album Rapture from 1986, featuring Freddie Washington on bass. And not only is this just a beautiful song, and Anita Baker's voice is just absolutely incredible, but I've always loved Freddie Washington's bass playing. And what he's particularly good at is getting his note lengths right. Everything he plays, the note lengths are just spot on, and it really sort of highlights that that's an important thing for us to do to sound professional and expensive, shall we say. So whenever you're playing a bass line that's got a lot of repetition in it, maybe a phrase that's being repeated round, we want to make sure that we choose the note lengths and then we play them the same every time. So what I love about this particular track is that the verses have got nice long notes in them and it has that big smooth sound. But as a contrast, the choruses have got these kind of shorter staccato kind of funky notes going on. So if we think about it, we want to try and make sure we can play this in a kind of clean way, and it's got a little bit of a phrase going on that we want to make sure we get that just right. So we're going to start off by going so you can kind of see that I'm trying to keep notes long where possible. And that phrase, for example, if I was to play this phrase where we go kind of root, fifth octave and up to the ninth and back. If I was to play those more individually and maybe shorter, we'd have... And it doesn't sound right for the song. It doesn't really sound right for the moment. So we want to try and get this so we can like make all the notes kind of blend nicely into each other, almost like in one big phrase. You know, that kind of thing. It really kind of smooths it out, and it, you know, adds a nice bit of bottom end and bass to the track, you know. So that's something to really think about when we're playing this song. But as a contrast, when you get to the chorus, like I say, we're going to kind of shorten things. We're not going to shorten them to the sort of the most staccato you can play. There still needs to be a bit of weight to the notes, but it's going to be quite short and funky. So we'd have something like... So that kind of thing. You can hear I've shortened everything up, and often that just, you know, you can do that by plucking a note and then immediately using another finger to stop the string immediately afterwards. So I'm going pluck, stop. So that's a little bit something to work on. If you've not been used to doing too much of that kind of muting technique, it's a very useful thing to do. We're always trying to alternate with our first and second finger, but you can kind of use the opposite finger to the one you've just plucked with as a sort of muting technique, that kind of thing. So yeah, another great song, a real classic, worth learning. And check out the original, obviously, with Freddie Washington on the bass. And then have a look at the transcription, start it with the slower version first, and then bring it up to speed. But really think about your note lengths, make sure that you can kind of play it the same each time and trying to get the nice big warm sound in the verses in particular, and then go to the sort of the funkier sound in the choruses. But another great track worth checking out. Okay, so this final track is 7 Days by Level 42, featuring one of my favourite bass players of all time, with a very catchy surname, Mark King. Let's check it out.
So young know the secret moments shared stay warm in my thoughts every day. Remembering, wiped away, kept at bay. You heard me say to live and play. Of hope revealed, love we feel, memories, 7 days, memories, 7 days.
Now, Mark King is an extremely technically proficient player, known for his incredible slap style. But let's not forget, he's also known for finding chords on the bass. Now, this song is a toe in the water for learning a few chord shapes in the bass, and that's why I kind of included it in this book today. And when we start to think about chords on a bass, one of the first ones that we learn is a thing called tenths. Now, if you haven't heard of tenths before, essentially what it means is we're going to play the third of the scale up an octave. So let's have a look what I mean by that. If I think of E as my starting note, and I play the scale of E, just E major, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I keep going, 9, 10, we get to this note. So you kind of, if you play the root note and the third an octave higher, you get this sound. You get a really kind of nice melodic sound. So the way we do that is I play a root note on the E string, maybe with my first finger, and I choose something like the third finger, so maybe the second finger, but I think third is more comfortable. 1 fret higher, that's a major tenth. So there's a little bit of that. You hear that quite a lot in Mark King's playing. He's also picking out sevenths in this particular song. So at one point he starts off with an E with a dominant 7 at the top, you know, that kind of thing. And then often, you know, he'll use major tenths, maybe, and minor ones as well, and that kind of thing. So this is a song that's, it's like I say, it's a nice toe in the water of chords on the bass. He also uses a little bit of harmonics occasionally at one point, where he sort of picks out this kind of thing. He sort of hits the 5th fret and the 4th fret of the top 2 strings with a D underneath. Yeah, so if we have a little look at some of the shapes for this song, we start off with like a dominant 7th shape, so it's like an E with the same fret at the top string, because that's the 7th, and then a bit of melodic stuff, and then we've kind of got tenths. So really nice sound, you know. That kind of thing. And in the chorus, he kind of just picks out lots of lovely shapes. We've got that sort of thing. 10th, 7th. And then we move to something like a major 10th, then a minor one, and then we hit a D and we play these harmonics I talked about. So yeah, so there's quite a lot to get your teeth into with a song like this, and again you can kind of use it as a bit of a study piece. I wouldn't expect to maybe pick it up that quickly. It's one where you've got to try and work on the shapes, have a good look at the tab to find out where you're going to put your fingers, and then just like I say, just work through it really slowly. It's so important to do this stuff slowly. Don't ever try it up to speed, because it just, in fact, if anything, it just hampers your progress on a song like this. So nice and slow to start with, work out the shapes and then bring it up to speed. Use those backing tracks I've created with and without bass. One thing to mention is I always include a bass heavy version as well, so I'll kind of bring down the other instruments and just make the bass nice and loud. So if you just want to check out what a particular bass player was doing, you can use that track, which is really cool. So as you can see, much can be learned from listening to the master bass players at work, and it's well worth spending a good bit of time with this PDF and jamming along to the tracks I've created for you. If you ever want a little bit more help, I run online classes where we can dig a lot deeper than we have today in this short video. If you've ever felt disconnected from the lines that you're playing and you'd like to improve your understanding of the vocabulary and harmony that you're hearing, this class might be for you. By working on transcriptions together each week, we start to notice recurring themes such as chord tones, chromaticism, pentatonics, scales and modes. This class can help you get to grips with any bass line, I'll give you a structured approach you can apply to learning new music and even create a few bass lines of your own beyond the class. You'll also be part of a community where you can join in discussions and share ideas with fellow bass players. If you click the link somewhere around this video, not only will I send you my latest transcription pack with backing tracks to play along to, but I'll also include some information about my upcoming classes. Semesters start each September, January and April, and it's loads of fun, so I hope to see you there.